So, but that's the territory that we cover. About us, we're a hub of the National Honor Flight Network. There's about 122 hubs across the country. We are 100% volunteer-run organization. We have no paid staff. We have a board of 16 people. Nobody's paid. A number of them are nurses because, as you might imagine, I learned very quickly when I got in this role that we're practically on medical flight also, because everybody's in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and we do have medical issues that we have to deal with. We have 4 buses when we're in DC. We have a nurse that's the bus leader of every bus. So we have community members that volunteer to be guardians. I don't know how familiar people are with it, but many family members go. We do not allow spouses to go as their guardian. The reason for that is because usually, obviously the spouses are just as old as the veteran, and you know, we don't want to double our medical issues as we're there, and plus they're there to help the veteran. And just as an example, we take 68 wheelchairs with us. Okay, so not everybody has to take a wheelchair, but the one thing we find is the National Mall is big, and they don't understand as they're walking. All of a sudden it gets hot, and boy, I could really stand, sit down. And so we actually give our guardians training on, hey, when you get out of the bus, even if your veteran doesn't want to take a wheelchair, and it's a pride thing also, I'd be the same way, okay? You basically go, hey, I really want to take one of these wheelchairs because at guardian training, they told us that some other veteran may need it as we're walking around, okay? And 80% of the time, he goes, man, it'd probably be nice to sit down a little bit, and walk around. So, but again, those guardians, we are actually, I think, the cheapest one in the country at $400. They pay a $400 contribution to be a guardian, and that is because our concept is the money we raise takes veterans free of charge to Washington, not necessarily guardians. I guarantee you that $400 is the best $400 they will ever spend. It doesn't even come close to covering all the costs that we have associated with it, but they do make a contribution to be a guardian. We take approximately 85 veterans per flight. So we have 85 veterans, 85 guardians, about 15 staff members that also go on every flight with us. We did when this started in 2010, they were just trying to raise money. And they were literally having bake sales, earning $1,000. Just to give you some perspective, it costs us a little over $100,000 per flight. And that's going to be going up to about $140,000 next year. Okay. So when they started, they were just trying to raise the money to take a flight. As a matter of fact, the director at the time supposedly got a fuel surcharge bill, and she had to negotiate with the airline if they'd wait till she got her income tax refund check, to pay that. So, but fortunately, over the years, we've raised money, and we were able to take 4 flights in 2023. The first time we were ever able to take 4 flights. Same last year, and we're planning another 4 next year. Mission number 29 is next week. It's on Tuesday, November the 12th. We will take our 2,000th veteran on that trip. So the thing Kathy was talking about is there's a welcome home, which you'll see here in a minute. If you ever get a chance, go to the welcome home. It's open to the public. It's free. It's one of the coolest things you'll ever be at. It's, as I always say, it's patriotism at its best. Our grandsons, we have 2 grandsons that live in Columbus, and my wife wanted them to come up because she said they need to see this and they need to understand this. And they pass out flags, and grandkids are 6 and 4, and she was explaining to me that they were going to the Marco's Pizza guy, handing him flags, but they were having such a good time. But again, if you get a chance, please go to that. We currently have about 500 veterans on the wait list. So we are basically telling people right now, if you sign up today, it's probably 18 to 24 months before you'll get on a flight. So, and we just keep getting more people that just keep getting added to the list. I won't read through this. You can read what that is. We've already talked about that's what our mission is, getting them there. We make these visits possible free of charge to any of those veterans. I'll go through our flight plan very fast. They get there at 5:30 in the morning. The SWAT, the American Legion, provides breakfast. We have breakfast. We depart at 8. as you might imagine, it takes a while to get all those people on a plane. You know, if you imagine if you're at Detroit or Columbus or whatever, just what I would call people who can walk, the time it takes to get on the plane, much less the time it takes to get, you know, a third of those people that need wheelchairs. We have 3 people that are muscle guardians. All they do the whole trip is help veterans get in and out of wheelchairs, get them into the plane, get them out of a wheelchair, get them down the aisle, get them in their seat. We get to Baltimore, BWI around 9:30. Takes us about an hour to get everybody off the plane and into the buses. 11:30, we're at National Mall. We used to do a tour of the National Mall, but what we found is each one kind of wants to spend their own amount of time in whichever one they went. Quite frankly, as you might imagine, it's more Vietnam now. So, you know, they tend to want to spend time there. So now it's just, you get there, you have lunch, you got to meet us here at 2:15, all right? You're free to roam with your guardian, and we'll see you at 2:15. At 2:30, we go to the Iwo Jima Memorial, and then we go to the changing of the guard. The changing of the guard is what controls our whole schedule. We have to get an assigned time through the Army. I don't know if you're familiar, the Arlington National Cemetery is controlled by the military, so we have to get an assigned time each day that we are allowed to go. Honor flights are the only people that can take buses directly to the changing of the guard. So our timing on everything we do is dependent on when we can get in there, and that usually is the highlight of the trip for these people. We have dinner, we come home, hopefully we're home around 9 o'clock. I won't go through these. These are just some of the memorials we see. And the thing I will tell you that always amazes me, and maybe I've just been fortunate, I've been to Washington, D.C. A couple dozen times. It's not just that these veterans haven't seen the memorials. I'd say 50% of them had never been to D.C., which was just always shocking to me, you know, because they're always like, where's the White House? And I'm like, haven't you been here? And, but it's really neat. So they see all these things. The one thing I'll say about the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, if you haven't read about how that was built, look that up. It's really cool as to all the political things that went through to get that. Actually, the person who designed it was a Chinese student at Yale, who her parents were professors at Ohio University. So again, it's got an Ohio connection. Again, we go to Arlington and the Marine Corps Memorial. I can't explain what this trip means to these people better than this. And I'm sure a lot of you who are from the Toledo area know who Dan Cummins is. Dan is a local news anchor. Dan has now gone, this trip in November will be his 18th flight that he's gone on with this. He goes on the flights with a photographer. He does stories the whole day. I always give Dan a lot of grief because I say, Dan, I love you, but I hate you. I love you because you give us such great publicity. I hate you because I finally get 85 off our waiting list and they see your story. And then we got 100 more that apply, within the next week. But he's a great guy. The thing I'll preface with this is the people in the yellow are the veterans, the people in the green are the guardians, the people in a red shirt like this are Flag City Honor Flight people that are helping. You will also see when the plane goes, there's water that's shot over. The 180th does it's called a water cannon salute to the veterans. So when they go, these water cannons will shoot over the plane, and that's their salute to the veterans. Unfortunately, there's also one or two commercials I got to try to click through on this as we go, but just stick with me. So hopefully this
I'm with customer service. We thank you. You've been hacked. To unlock your account, please confirm your name and password. And please answer the following security questions. What is your mother's maiden name? What is your favorite anime? What is the last name of your first grade teacher?
Don't fall for customer service scams online. If it's weird for real, it's weird for real.
Post Malone is teaming up with Raising Cane's to empower the next generation of artists. For a limited time, 2 exclusive double-sided Post Malone posters are available at Raising Cane's. So post up your combo at Cane's while supplies last and support a good cause. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, let them know.
Back to the organization. Flag City Honor Flight returned home last night to a big celebration once again at Grand Air Terminal out at Toledo Express.
This was
It
our
was the
June
trip of a
flight of
lifetime
last
for
year.
dozens
All
of local
Vietnam
veterans.
flight.
Once again,
That
our
was
Dan
fully
Cummins tagged
sponsored
along on the
by
trip and
Marathon
joins us
Executive.
live in studio tonight with more. Dan?
This is my 12th honor flight overall, and each one is very special on its own. After COVID, there's been a long waiting list for Vietnam veterans to get on Flag City Honor Flight, and really the ones who really needed this yesterday to help make things right for what they went through, serving their country in a war that was unpopular. Here's a recap produced by our talented Paul Klopik and Bring the Tissues.
Flight C on the flight with veterans from Vietnam. God bless our veterans. God bless America, land of the free because of the brave.
Once I got sober, I had to get off the.
I apologize.
I didn't get to get off so often. I did it for a couple of years. I eventually did, and I haven't taken anything in many, many years. But the benzos, I had to get off right away because that's an addictive drug.
What would you recommend when that anxiety comes back, when you decide, okay, I'm gonna get rid of this because of the addictive properties, but that anxiety comes back in full force, what do you do to try to alleviate that anxiety without getting back on the pharmaceutical?
That was even worse.
Well, I know you guys, I'm already eating into lunch, so it's not a problem. Sorry that the video isn't working. Yeah, you can look it up.
And then I can send it back. And
Yeah.
does anyone have any questions?
It's not a question, but my father went on the honor flight, and it was after Jeannie had 7 years ago or 8 years ago when you.
10,
Yeah, it was 10, because he went, I did it after my mother passed away, and he needed something, and I called up, and he was World War II, so we got in, like, I called, and we were on to the next one the next month.
Yep.
And my son got to be his guardian, and it was the most absolute wonderful experience. I really wanted to go, but I let my son go. And it was a wonderful experience for him. And like what you said, my father said, I don't need a wheelchair. And by all the pictures I see him is sitting in the wheelchair because he was so tired after going. But it was a fantastic experience, wonderful. I really would not have known about it until Jeannie said, and they were still trying to squeeze in, he went on it 7 years ago. So they were still working on getting the World War II and just starting to get the Korean ones in at that time. That's where they were. But to any of you that have any family members or anything, it is a wonderful experience. And one thing my son said, these old guys pee a lot. That's all that.
Yes.
He goes, they waited a whole bunch.
Whenever we go through, we go through guardian training, the Sunday before the flight, all guardians have to come, we have to train them. And I always start off with, I said, look, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to say go to the bathroom 28 times during this presentation. You see one, go. You know?
I just wanted to say, one of our Lucas County Medical Alliance members' husband is going November 12th, Dr. Lance Talent.
So I just wanted to say, you know, I did that program, my dad did it in 2013. And it truly is life-changing for these veterans. My dad could not talk about it afterwards without crying. So when my father passed away in 21, we buried him with his honor flight t-shirt and his hat. And I had, instead of flowers, make donations to Dayton Honor Flight. So fast forward a few years, and Honor Flight was grounded in Dayton for a couple of years because of COVID. So my son works at a TV station in Dayton, and one of the anchors, like, you know, you have the anchor, he went on the first flight post-COVID with these veterans, and he said, you know, there's a waiting list, and he said in that 2 years that they were grounded, 50 of those people on the waiting list had passed away. Most of them were World War II vets. So anyway, this anchor's name was Adam Arrow, and he went on the flight, and then afterwards he did a documentary on it, and he put it on the news. And so I've sent it to, I can't tell you how many people, but he was so, he talked about how emotional it was for him. And there was some guy that was on the flight with him, and they were at the wall, and they were trying to get the name and everything. And then since he aired that, the guy had passed away. The anchor broke down on the news. I mean, they had one of the other anchors had to cover for him, and you know, then kind of went to like one of these screens and said, "Do you want more information?" But in Dayton, of course, because we're home to Wright-Patterson, very big military population. But when you go to the airport, and they'll even have it like on Facebook on the Dayton Honor Flight site. They want people to come. They have bands. They have the Boy Scouts, whatever, kids there with waving flags, family members and stuff. The control tower, whenever there's an honor flight, they always light it up in red, white, and blue. So, you know, and I live really close to the Dayton airport, so it's all lit up. But when my dad went, I forget how much it cost for each flight, but they would have people that would sponsor a flight. So the one that did my dad's flight was an elementary school down in Fairfield, Ohio, and they had bake sales, and they did, you know, various forms of fundraising. So all those kids were at the little reception when they came home, you know, and they recognized those kids, the teachers and everything that raised the money for it. Yep. But even when, like, you make a donation, when I had donations sent after my father died, they even sent a nice letter, like, okay, thank you for your donation, and your donation of whatever, this is how much it costs to send a veteran, and then put out everything, the meals, and a lot of the things, like where you get to DC are sponsored by different organizations. But it is very impressive. I know your father, you know, I mean, it was life-changing.
We're trying to get more corporations in the Toledo area. We have with Marathon and Ohio Logistics, they're very big supporters of ours. But yeah, we're working on trying to get more.
There's also a video, I think I had shared that information when I did it 14 years ago. It's about the Wisconsin Honor Flight when it first got started. Oh, and it's wonderful. And I think I got it on, well, I think it's available on Netflix, but I think I ordered the actual video and showed it to some people after my dad went on the Honor Flight. But yeah, it is very impressive. So thank you for doing that.
Two things that I'll just say, experiences for me. When we actually on the flight, I was trying to show you the video for it. When you go to the Vietnam Wall, there are these books that you can go and you can try to find the name of a person, and it will then tell you where it's at on the wall. And in all honesty, it's kind of confusing, but there's also an app, and myself and some of our other board members have an app, and we try to go over that way because we usually find some veteran that's trying to find somebody who's having trouble. And myself and one of our muscle guardians saw this guy, one of our vets, who was having trouble, and we said, "Who are you looking for?" And I forget the name, but he says, "You know, Billy Smith." And muscle guardian I was with looked it up, and he said, "Hey, is this him?" And the guy looked at it and he started crying, and he said, "That's him." And he said, "He's the only one in my platoon that I lost." And he said, "And I know it wasn't my fault, but I can't get it out of my head that it wasn't my fault." He said, "I have to find his name on this wall." And that just really, you know, I mean, what do you say? I mean, you know, I would say, "Hey, you know, no, it wasn't your fault. You know, it's just, you know," and you know, of course we helped him find it. But the other thing is we get hundreds of thank you letters after flights. And the one that really, again, stuck with me the most was, we got one that just said, "Dear Flag City Honor Flight, thank you so much for the honor of going on your last flight. It's been 50 years since I returned home from Vietnam, and I now finally have closure." So, I mean, you know, and that's all it said, you know. And so, you know, again, you see those and you go, boy, all the time we put into this, it's worth it. It's worth it. So once again, thank you, everybody. I'm sorry, I know I started a little late.
Thank you, Steve, for being here. And if you can stay for lunch, we'd love to have you, for sure. So lunch is right outside, and it's a buffet. So we'll just all gather out there. We'll do two sides down the line there, and then shortly we're going to just take a little walk down and see Lily's, she's giving us 10% off, and just a nice opportunity for us to see her business. She does a great job here in this community. All right, and there's drinks up there as well.
Ladies, can I get a picture of everyone that spoke today, real quick before you get food, like just right outside?
Sure. All right, so we'll have our speakers outside, and then everyone else start getting into, into line. Thank you.
They give you like 5 seconds, you know, little sketch. Whatever. Exactly. Oh, wasn't necessary.
No, I know, but it's just something little that we're thinking about.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Get some lunch,
Okay.
come on in, there's places to sit around, and
Great,
everybody loves
great.
to talk to you.
No
So,
problem. Thank you.
Sounds good, thanks.